Today we're busting one myth for every item in Mario Kart World and diving deep into their mechanics to uncover the truth about how they work. The coin shell can be destroyed while you're trailing it. In Mario Kart World, every item you receive is automatically trailed behind you, but most items are protected until you use them. Confirmed. For other items like a banana, it makes sense that they break when someone hits them, because it's the same way after being thrown. But the coin shell normally tears through anyone it touches, so I found it surprising that your source of coins could be taken away like this. Fireballs and ice balls will sink into lava. When you touch lava for too long, you'll slowly fall into it. If items are allowed to go across, does their temperature matter? Busted. Even ice balls can travel across lava, which makes no sense from a scientific perspective. I suppose most things would burn when they touch lava, but usually lava is less forgiving than it is in this game. Kamek will only transform people in front of the user. Kamek goes forward when you deploy him, so he can spawn enemies in front of everyone. When I use him in first place, will no one transform? Busted. When I briefly look back, the guy behind me had transformed. I thought Kamek transforms people as he flies past them, but if I had to guess, he transforms everyone who's expected to reach whatever he spawns. The boomerang will bounce away from walls. Most items will bounce right off a wall and get back on the track, but the boomerang is supposed to find its way back to you at some point. What happens when we try to throw the boomerang where it didn't plan on going? Busted. The boomerang will stay as close to the wall as it can, or as close to where it would have been if there was no wall. Even when the wall is perpendicular, it'll just sit there until it's time to come back. The boom makes you unaffected by off-road. In Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, this was not the case, as it only made you invincible to items and getting bumped by other players. The invincibility only lasts half as long now, but there might be a new ability that makes up for this. Confirmed. Now you can actually float over terrain as if you were a boo. If you ask me, this is well worth losing the extra invincibility. And when it steals an item like a mushroom, you can make some diabolical shortcuts. The Bob-omb won't affect its user. You may have noticed that you don't get blown up by the Bob-omb when you're trailing it, unlike the previous game. Is that because the Bob-omb is far enough behind you in that case? Or are you completely immune if you pulled it? Busted. If you throw it forward, you're responsible for making sure you dodge it. I think the developers made a special case for when it's trailing, because it would be a liability if you were forced to trail it and get hit. Blooper ink is cleared when you fall off the map. Blooper ink is pretty easy to remove with a mushroom or boost panel, but maybe you want to take some extreme measures. Confirmed. It's still there for a second when you're getting back on the track, but the guy I landed next to still had ink, while mine was long gone. You can drive across lava with a mushroom. In most video games, lava is strictly off limits, but since we're in a cart, maybe we can survive by traveling over it quickly. Confirmed. I expected that items like the star and boo would be okay on lava, but having the mushroom work for this was an interesting choice. It's definitely more fun than if you couldn't drive on it. You can get 2 sets of triple mushrooms at the same time. In typical gameplay, you can never get 2 of the same item, unless you steal one with a boo. But we're not here for typical gameplay today. Confirmed. This can only happen at the very start of the race, because the game doesn't want to give you power items too early. I'm a little surprised it doesn't give you a single mushroom for one of the items, instead of breaking its own rules. Red shells break on cars. Historically, this is one of the most fragile items in Mario Kart. It breaks whenever it touches almost anything. Busted. Instead of breaking or even damaging the car, it just bounces right off. That's a first for Mario Kart. I guess it would be a bummer if your red shells always broke like this on the highways. Fireballs or ice balls will cancel themselves out. Let's see if you can fight fire with fire. Or ice with ice, I guess. Confirmed. This means you have to be a little careful when throwing these in sections that have walls. It doesn't seem likely that they would collide at first glance, but when you're throwing 7 or 8 of them, it starts to add up. Not to mention they can also backfire and hit you. Triple red shells will switch their target when they become invincible. If the red shells know someone is invincible with an item like a star, they'll skip them and go for the next player in front. Will they still make this choice after being thrown? Busted. Once each red shell is thrown, they're set on that target, even if they've already been hit. This is important to know so you don't waste too many red shells on the same person. Triple green shells will bounce off of small objects. It was somewhat rare in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe to have pieces of the track that can be moved, but this had to be implemented in an open world game, so let's see how the green shells interact with them. Busted. As it turns out, it will bounce off of some objects without moving them. Meanwhile, the green shell can go right through other objects and move them aside. I think what's going on here is the green shell and object both have a value that measures their weight, and the one that has the lower weight must move. Green shells will bounce off of breakable objects. I was testing the previous myth a little more when I got an unexpected result. Based on my weight stat theory, the green shell should either go through the object it breaks or bounce off of it. Busted. I'm not sure why the green shell broke on this box. I think the box has some special rule that takes the green shell down with it, like when the shell hits an enemy. Otherwise, it should tear through any small breakable objects. You can hit yourself with a banana to dodge a blue shell. This strategy was a staple in the previous game, because the banana gave you invincibility to the blue shell. I wouldn't be surprised if they made a change here. Busted. If you get hit by another item before the blue shell, you're about to get wombo comboed. There's no hit you can take that protects you from the blue shell, but later in the video, I might find a way to limit the damage. Triple bananas will bounce off of each other. Now I want to see what happens when a banana is thrown at another banana. Will it fall right to the side or bounce farther away while it looks for another landing spot? Confirmed. Two bananas can't really share the same space, so if you throw them at the exact same angle, it will bounce to either the left or right. If the angle is just slightly different though, they could land much closer. The rain after lightning affects places with a ceiling. In Mario Kart World, the shock actually changes the weather and makes the track slippery. But is it the whole track or only places where rain can reach? Busted. It seems they prioritized the realism of how weather works instead of making sure everyone felt the slippery track. The rain rarely matters anyway since you go slower while small, and the shock dodge items are immune to slippery roads. The bullet bill will bounce on DK Spaceport's bounce pads. In past games, the bullet bill just floats above the track and goes wherever it feels like, but this time, it might have to interact with the environment some more. Confirmed. Not only does it bounce on bounce pads, it actually switches between rails during that section. You'll have to be more careful about where to use the nerfed bullet bill, since it can be pushed around by the track layout. The star and mega mushroom will push you forward if you're not accelerating. Since these items have similar effects, I'm doing two myths that cover both of them. Confirmed. The star and mega mushroom are supposed to make you faster, so they'll add speed one way or another. You'll rarely want to just stop in the middle of a race with these, but who knows. You can use a mega mushroom and a star at the same time. This is a rare situation that I came across while I was testing something else. Normally, a star would get cancelled if you use a mega mushroom after it, and it can't go the other way, since the mega mushroom stays in the item box. But I saw this ground star and had an idea. Confirmed. I wish I could tell you more about how this works, but it was right at the end of a race. If I had to guess, it's the same as having only the Mega Mushroom. The golden mushroom goes faster when you spam it. This test is not going to be perfect, but it feels to me like the mushroom goes a little faster the moment it's used. Let's see if there's any noticeable difference. Busted. It seems the feeling I had was nothing more than that, even if the cart emits a bunch of flames. The only benefit to spamming it is to make sure the last use happens right before it goes away. The Super Horn can remove Blooper ink. This is the king of destroying other items, even blue shells. Once you've been inked, is it too late to reverse the damage? Busted. The Super Horn can destroy items that are solid, but the liquid ink stays on there. This is one scenario where you'd rather have a mushroom instead. I don't believe the Super Horn would kill the Blooper before the ink happens either, since no other item can interact with it. I think the Blooper just lives in its own dimension or something. The distance you throw hammers depends on your speed. In this scenario, I attempted to run into my own hammers after throwing them down a hill, both with and without the boost ramp. Confirmed. I wasn't close to hitting them either time, but I should have been much closer with the help of the boost panel. Instead, they traveled way farther while I was boosted. The coin box doesn't drop any coins after you get hit. If you get hit while using the coin box, you won't get the chance to keep hitting it. This is a little strange since you can keep most items after getting hit, but what happens to the rest of the coins? Busted. You won't be able to hit the box anymore, but it will still drop a bunch of coins behind you for others to grab, so they still get to benefit while you don't. Be careful not to use this while you're under attack. You can dodge a red shell with a feather. The red shell will do whatever it takes to get to you, even if it means switching between rails. Under most circumstances, it's not afraid to go after someone in the air either. Confirmed. This case was specifically accounted for in the game, because there's nothing stopping the red shell from going up to hit you. It just decides not to once you use the feather, and flies off into the distance. It would probably target someone else if you're not in first place. Personally, I would rather have the feather dodge blue shells instead of red shells, since it makes more sense with how you go upwards. You can dodge a blue shell with food. Food seems to work exactly the same as a mushroom, except for the time it lasts. It even works off-road, while many boosts outside mushrooms do not. Let's see if it also shares this trait. Busted. That would make it a little too easy to dodge blue shells on roads that have food, especially in knockout tours. It's good enough that you can go off-road with the boost that you get in first. The coin item gives a temporary speed boost for each coin. You might notice that your cart flares up when it receives a coin, but it doesn't give you a noticeable boost when you're driving at full speed. To see the boost we're getting, we'll have to drive backwards or stay still. Confirmed. If we're not already going forward, the boost will propel us forward. This means there's still a benefit to collecting coins when you already have 20, even if it's extremely small. Finally, it's faster to fall off the map instead of getting hit by a blue shell. I'm going to get blue shelled right before a boost panel twice, and see how much time I lose. With how deadly the blue shell is in Mario Kart World, we'll really need to start considering our options. Confirmed. The boost panel made it so I didn't have to accelerate from 0 again, but falling off still looked faster. It takes less time to fall off than it does to start moving after a blue shell, and you can accelerate immediately by pressing A when you land. Without falling off, the best way to accelerate is to charge a mini turbo when you can, or try to land near a boost panel. Thanks for watching, subscribe for more Mario Kart videos, and I'll see you next time.